It's Vancouver's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
Well, Zeeshan, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time today to be here for all our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Okay, I want you to tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and give us the details on your current business.
Sure. So I'm from Pakistan. I came to Canada when I was about the age of 10. I was raised by my grandparents, and they decided to move here. My mother passed away at a very early age. I was about 7 years of age, and I never met my father. So I've had a really close relationship with my grandfather. My grandmother has also passed for some time now. Came here at a very early age, started my education here, and eventually started the company and grew it to be to what it is today. In terms of what we do, we essentially help chronically ill patients connect with mail order pharmacies and durable medical equipment providers and retail chain pharmacies. So we help them with getting their prescriptions filled or getting durable medical equipment such as back braces, knee braces, wrist braces, other medical equipment such as sleep apnea machines, as well as their basic prescriptions that they're taking on recurring basis due to the chronic conditions that they may have, filled through our partners. And these are partners that have been fully vetted by our company.
Okay, so you provide the service, so you're in essence the middleman between the providers and the customers?
So we help connect and vet patients with pharmacy partners who have been vetted as well and can actually deliver the services. So there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in between that requires for our prescriptions to be filled. So we work with their doctors, insurance company, patients, insurance companies, and doctors to ensure that they are qualified and actually have a prescription that can be filled by one of our partners. And that is essentially the service that we provide through our marketing and lead generation services, as well as technology services that engage the patients, the insurance companies, doctors, and pharmacies.
Okay, now did you need financing to start your company, and how do you currently make money in the business now?
Well, when we started this company back in 2001, I was 22 years of age, or 21, I believe, and my co-founder and I started while we were still in college, working part-time jobs. Raising capital was not an option, or perhaps we didn't know enough about it at that time. We had a credit card, and we made a commitment that whatever money we borrow off this credit card must be paid back we have to make enough revenue to pay back that money within the first month, within the first 30 days, so that we don't incur interest charges. And if we couldn't do that, then we wouldn't go forward. So fortunately enough, we borrowed about $7,000 that very first month to start our online business opportunity that we had in mind, which essentially led into a lead generation company that it is today, along with the technology services that we provide. And we were able to make enough revenue to pay back within the first 30 days, and that allowed us to continue the business and grow it from that point forward.
Okay, what is the long-term vision, and what will your company look like in the future? Do you see the company expanding into other areas, and where beyond Vancouver, BC, or even Canada?
So we're already in states. We have a big footprint in the American market. Given that things are changing politically and economically quite a bit in America, we're definitely looking at expanding out in the UK market, and then from there we'll look at other English-speaking countries such as Australia, New Zealand, and then eventually the Middle East and other European and Asian Pacific markets. So the goal for the company, because we're in healthcare, it's something that is required all over the world, but it's got its challenges too, which is part of the reason why it hasn't advanced in technology as fast as it should have. and that's due to compliance. And every country has different compliance measurements and requirements and regulations that we must abide by. So we understand the North American market really well, but we actually just had a meeting with the trade commissioner here in Canada to set us up with their counterparts in UK, and we're now going through the process of commercializing our services in United Kingdom, and that's really the first goal that we have in terms of in foreign market to enter. Long-term vision and goal for the company is definitely to grow the company with a global footprint and to have thousands of employees and have a representation of the service and the company around the world eventually. So we do have some big goals for that, and it's something that I have a passion for in terms of seeing this company grow into an international market.
Okay, well, we've learned a lot about you and we've learned a lot about your company. We're going to talk a bit about Vancouver now. What are the biggest benefits for you and being an entrepreneur here in Vancouver, BC? I want you to give us some of the good points about starting a company here, but I also want you to give us some of the tough things or challenges for listeners so they can keep an eye out for them.
Sure. I think now, so I started my company back in 2001, and I really took it full time because I was still in school and completing my education, working part-time jobs. So I didn't really go full time at it until 2000, and towards the end of 2003. That's when we started to hire, our first developers and UI UX designers, and started to build out our technology, CRM, so we can manage the patient data securely and take all those measures that are required to grow the company. At that time, things were different in terms of starting a company. Regulations were different. There weren't as many competitors here in Vancouver as it is now. For example, now we have Amazon, and they're expanding their footprint here, opening a new office, and thousands of more people being hired by them. We have some other competition, local competition like Hootsuite. We have companies from down south like Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft. They all have offices here and growing their footprint. So we have growing competition here in terms of attracting talent and prices, in terms of salary cost and cost of living, cost of office maintenance. Everything has gone up over the years that I've seen since 2003 to date. And now I feel that if I were to start all over again, it wouldn't be so easy for me. Not that it was easy back then, but it wouldn't be as easy, or it would be difficult to start without capital, and not just $10,000 on a credit card, but more angel investment or even VC investment required to kind of get your idea really off the ground, get people hired and interested, who you have to compete with other companies, great companies here in Vancouver. So I think still it is a place that I wouldn't leave. I love Vancouver because I have my family and friends and my life here. My kids have been born here and have now starting to grow up and they're going to school here. It is one of the best places to live, and definitely one of the best places to continue to do what we do here today, because we have a lot of grants that are available. So we work with IRAP, SHRED, BCIC, there's BC Tech. There are so many different organizations and huge tech community that is growing and supportive. I'm part of support group for CEOs such as Ace Tech, which is an accountability support group for CEOs. So there's a lot to offer here in Vancouver, but it's got its challenges too, with rising costs and salaries, living, office expense. So you give and take, but it is definitely, I can see that if I were starting today, it would not be the same as how it was in 2003.
It's a good thing you started in 2003. That way you had a bit of a running start.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
now we do some of our best work outside the office. Is there a place in the Lower Mainland close to where you live or work where you like to go recharge or get inspired with ideas or just think about your business? And does it change with the season considering all the rain we get here?
Yeah, so I'm huge into activities, outdoors, and exercise. When I was growing up, I took Taekwondo. I competed nationally, provincially. It was all that I did while I was in high school, and then in my college years, and it was something I was really passionate about. So I got a lot of my wisdom, my discipline through my martial arts. That I did, getting my black belt and competing nationally for the country. So it was great. After I started my company at the age of 23, I decided to part ways with Taekwondo because I was so passionate about it that I didn't feel the same not being able to compete. And I couldn't compete because I would need to then, spend 6 days 3 to 4 hours a day in the Taekwondo studio to train for competition, and I couldn't do that while still going to school and starting a company. So something I had to give. At that time, I decided to take up cycling, and I did that because one of my best friends was a national champion for downhill cycling, cross country and downhill cycling from New Zealand, and he had moved here, and we got to know each other, and he started taking me out for rides, and I just absolutely fell in love with, riding through trails and just de-stressing and relaxing, getting fresh ideas that I may have been struggling with in terms of at work. So that's something that I do now is cycling, and yeah, it is weather permitting because it's outdoor and it does rain a lot here. So when it does rain, we typically go in and do. I play squash regularly and badminton, so that's another way I find myself, winding down, de-stressing, and getting some exercise in while I'm at it.
Okay, well, we have a lot of international listeners, so this next question, I want you to speak to them. If you were to start all over again and you just moved here to Vancouver, BC, but this time you don't know anyone, knowing what you know now, what would you do, and how would you go about starting all over again as an entrepreneur?
It will be difficult. I would have to say. I mean, my situation today is different from when I started the company. When I started the company, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have the added responsibility. I was still living with my parents, so my grandparents. And today I have 3 children. I have to provide for them. I have a family, and I'm at the age of 39. So it's different dynamics. If I were to start over again today, like I said, I would probably be looking at, it would depend. Do I have any savings to take on this journey? If not, I have to find work because I have 3 children who I have to provide for. So I would have, I'm in a different setting today than I was when I first got started. But if I did have some savings and I just moved here and I'm ready to start, I would first of all get engaged with the tech scene here, which is growing, and with that, you can actually start networking to understand exactly how things work here, and definitely would require funding to support a startup. Which requires hiring employees, finding a place to work, and paying rent, etc. So those would be the steps that I would take if the scenario was that I had some savings to then go on this journey. Otherwise, I would have to take up a job and build up to a level where I can actually take that leap and go both feet in and go after my dreams.
Okay, let's talk a bit about your routine. What does the first hour look like for you when you wake up in the morning? Do you have a specific routine or a ritual that helps you get motivated to start your day?
Yeah, the first thing I do is I thank God for allowing me to get up and thank him for everything that we have, and ask him to make this day a good day for us and my family. And then after that, I pick up my phone and look at my emails, Slack, messages, texts, etc., and my schedule, of course, to see what's next. And then typically, now that my kids are back in school, I help get the kids ready for school, get myself ready, and get them off to school. And I head to work at the same time when my wife takes the kids to school. So typically, that's what the first hour looks like, and in that I would have my quick oatmeal and pretty much get going, get to work by 8:00.
Okay, do you think entrepreneurs have to be weird or unique in a positive way, or are wired differently?
I don't think that they have to be unique or weird. I think they do have to have thick skin, and I think that entrepreneurs have a very strong willpower, and they are determined to go after their dreams and to actually achieve the goals that they had set out. So they have entrepreneurs have a really strong vision that they're after. They have a mission to get to that vision, and they have a willpower to not let them stop, because there will be ups and downs in your journey. There will be challenges. There will be sleepless nights, but those that get through that survive through that journey and grow their company and grow as entrepreneurs. And I think entrepreneurs are always growing too. They're always learning, and that's one thing that I really stress myself over, is that I continuously want to learn on a daily basis. I always want to be with other smarter people. It's just like when I used to compete and play sports, or even now when we play sport, I go out and on a bike ride with someone who's faster than me, or I play squash with someone who's better than me. I sparred when I was in Taekwondo, competing with people that had higher degrees, black belt than me, more experience than me, so that I can learn off them. So that's what I feel that entrepreneurs are all about, and that's what helped them be different, but not in an awkward way.
Okay, so you stated you like to learn. What books are you reading now, and why, or even audiobooks? And can you recommend any books for our listeners who are also aspiring entrepreneurs?
Currently, I'm reading Elon Musk's autobiography. I started reading that because I'm inspired by him, because he has crazy ideas. Solar City, Tesla, electric cars, autonomous cars, and going to Mars and setting colonies there. So I've always been inspired by him and his ideas, and how he's started his journey and set himself really high standard and really audacious goals, and he's achieved some of them and is continuing to work on others now. So I would definitely recommend that as a read. I think everyone knows, especially if you're in the business world or not, you know a little bit about Elon Musk, but it was a great read, and I'm actually almost towards the end of it now. And I would recommend that too to others that are listening today.
Any online or offline tools that you like to use on a daily basis?
Yes, online tools, definitely Slack. I'm sure you've heard that before. Mm-hmm. WhatsApp, and I would, those are the two big online tools that I use on day-to-day basis, and I find them very useful. As for offline, let's see.
Paper and pen?
Paper and pen. Maybe sometimes an offline compass or a weighing machine that is not digital. But that's about it.
Okay. If you weren't doing what you do now, what would you like to do for a profession?
I would love to be a fighter jet pilot for the Air Force. And actually, before I got my very first computer, my grandfather got me at the age of 12. That's what I wanted to be. And before that, I wanted to be an astronaut. That's when I was like 5 years old. But I ended up being an entrepreneur after I got online and got on the internet.
What kind of a job would you not like to do? Couldn't do it?
You know, if I have to do whatever it is, I'll do it. It just really depends on the circumstances. I really don't have any, one job that I disliked when I was in high school. I worked in a warehouse, in a grocery warehouse, and it was in the freezer, and I didn't like that. But if I had to do it right now to provide for my family, I'll do it.
In business, what is your favorite word, quote, or sentence that you like to use?
My favorite word, it would be we. Like in terms of a combined effort. My leadership style of one is democratic leadership style. So I like to collaborate. I like to include the word we. I don't like the word me or I. So that would probably be my favorite word.
Okay, so when you have something with the company, you try and get other people in on the thought processes and look at all angles.
Absolutely. I like my management team, my leadership team. So we plan things together. We make decisions together, whether it's office design. A lot of time people come directly to me and say, hey, what do you think of this? And I'll give them my opinion, but I'll say, hey, but also check with, X, Y, Z, so that you get a collaborative decision on this. But of course, there are things that I have to be calling the final shots on, and I do that. But I always like to have advice, not only from people in my company, but also my advisors and mentors that have helped me all along my journey as being an entrepreneur.
How important are mentors to you?
Very important. My biggest mentor is my grandfather, who is not a business person. He's an accountant by trade, and he's always advised me in good times and bad times, and I've gone through many different challenges over the years, and he's my biggest supporter and all along throughout my journey.
What is your least favorite word or sentence you do not like to hear?
Sentence would be, we cannot do this, or it's not possible. I don't think anything is impossible. I don't think anything is not doable. If there's if there's will, there's a way. So we just have to find a way. I believe in that. I believe that businesses the successful businesses actually solve a real problem for people. And if you're not actually solving a problem, then you're not really doing anything meaningful. So for us, we're faced with challenges all the time, regulation changes, or things, business requirements that change. We just have to find a way around it and do it in an amicable way. So, yeah, I believe anything can get done. I don't like to hear when I get told that that's not possible.
If you had to pick one or two words to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
I would say, the word that comes to my mind is humble. And the reason why I used that word or chose that word was because I'm very humbled and grateful and thankful to be in the position that I'm in today. And for that reason, I feel that it's my obligation to give back and help others, whether it be giving my time or, funding or providing food, shelter, whatever it is that I like to do in terms of giving back. It's my obligation because I feel that where I come from, Pakistan, which is a poor country with not a lot of opportunity, especially for young people, could have been very different for me if it wasn't for my grandparents who helped me come to this beautiful country of ours, Canada, full of opportunities. So it could have been very different for me. And I've been back there. I've recently went to Morocco, and I've seen a lot of the world as I've traveled over the years, and seen poverty and how things are so different out there. But forget that. I mean, even looking downtown East Side Vancouver, things are very different than where I'm sitting here right now in my office in downtown in Vancouver as well. So I feel that, I'm humbled with the position I'm in, and for that reason, I should give back and do more to help those who are not in the same position, so that we can make this world a better place.
What keeps you up at night, if anything?
Probably my children. My 5-year-old still sometimes crawls into our bed at 2 a.m. and wakes us up. But I've had sleepless nights too. I've been an entrepreneur for my professional entire career since the age of 22. So it wouldn't be fair to say that I've never worried, or I've had, other things happen. So we're struggling with some ideas or finding solutions to some situations that we worked on during the day. And sometimes at 2 a.m., I'd get a thought in my head, and I wake up right away and note it down and feel good about that. So I feel that, that is what would keep me up at night. But at the end of the day, if I've done my 150%, I feel good about going to bed, and I'm happy. So I just always say that to other people that I work with as well, that always give your best, and that's all you can do. Leave the rest in the hands of God.
Okay, I want you to give us the top 3 things on your inspired life list. This could be a bucket list of any sort, whether you want to do a TEDx talk, write books, philanthropy, travel more, anything like that.
To be honest, I really don't have a bucket list. I'm very thankful and grateful to be able to do a lot of things that I wanted to in my life already. I would, love to maybe do a TEDx, and although I feel that I need to build up to that and work more towards it. I've traveled a lot. I've just recently took a 4-week long trip overseas, and it was great. I'd love to probably go to Antarctica one day. Maybe if I'm able to, and if I can, I'd love to get out of space, get into space and out of this world, maybe on Elon Musk's journeys, or through SpaceX, or Richard Branson's programs that they're developing. But I think that's just a fantasy of mine, but not really something that I'm looking forward to before I die. One thing that I haven't done is Hajj, which is an obligation of every Muslim to do at least once once in their life, and that's something that I plan on doing, going to Mecca. Although I've been there 4 times in my life already to do my Umrah, but I've never done the Hajj.
Do you have any advice that you may have received that you can pass on to entrepreneurs throughout BC?
Yeah, there's so many, pieces of advice that I've gotten over the years in different situations and scenarios and cases. One that I've always kept close to my heart is just never giving up, and always setting myself goals, short-term and long-term, and then working towards achieving them, and not let people, steal your dreams away. So it's okay to dream. It's okay to think big. It's okay to, think about building a huge enterprise and finding your way to get there, but also planning, also setting yourself short-term goals and long-term goals to achieving those particular dreams that you had, and not let people shut your ideas down. For example, when young entrepreneurs may be starting off their business today, going and pitching to angel investors and VC firms, and then getting shut down by saying, hey, your idea sucks and you'll never make it. There's something else already out there that's better, bigger. Why would we want to invest in you? Don't let that shut you down. Don't stop there. Go to the next VC, go to the next angel investor, go and talk to more people, work on your idea, work on your innovation, and grow. So I think that is what I would suggest to those that are starting off today, and hopefully that encourages them to keep going.
Okay, Zeeshan, are you ready to have some fun?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, as you know, entrepreneurs are always connected, very, very busy people, whether it be with staff, employees, clients, you name it, we're always connected. We're going to take you away from all that. There's a small tropical island just off of Fiji that only has one phone booth there. There is no internet. This place does exist. We're going to drop you off there. You won't have a computer or a smartphone or a tablet. You can use the phone booth located there anytime to call the boat. We'll come pick you up. How long would you last before you made that call? And what would you do while you were there?
So this is a difficult scenario for me in this current time of my life because whenever I travel away from family for work, I always talk to my children before they go to sleep through FaceTime or just even a conversation over the phone. So if I were to be dropped off on this island in this current time, I probably wouldn't last very long. Because I would want to speak to them before the end of the day, before I go to sleep or they go to sleep, so that we connect and we have a chance to talk. But if I didn't have that family,
if they were on the island with you,
if they were on the island with me, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I would just we would go and find ourselves food. I'm not sure if we'd have shelter and clothes, but we would go and explore the island. We'd go swimming. We would hang out at the beach. We would look at different wildlife that exists on the island, and we'd have a lot of fun. I mean, when I go away with my family, typically I do cut myself off front and get off the grid and kind of just enjoy the time. But of course, I would check in every other day with the key people that I left in charge while I was away. But yeah, if my family was there, I'm good. It would be at least a week before they'd drive me nuts, and then we'd have to make that call.
Okay, so 1 week with the family, and then you make the call.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, Zeeshan, how can our listeners get hold of you? And is there anything you'd like to add before you leave us today?
Well, they can get a hold of me through Twitter at Zeeshan Hayat or LinkedIn, Zeeshan Hayat. Or Instagram at Zeeshan Hayat. And I think we covered a lot for those that are just getting started on their journey to being an entrepreneur, or have thought of some great idea that they believe is going to change the world. I would just advise that validate that idea, create an MVP, get market validation, get feedback from your users, and then improve that before you go out and start to raise capital. And the longer you can hold off on doing that, the better. If I didn't, if we weren't revenue positive right from the get-go, it would be very difficult for me to be here because of the scenario I had set out myself. But here now, if you're starting today, having some validation of your business and having some users or some data that validates your business, and then go out and raise capital, because I feel that now things are of one that you almost have to raise capital if you really want to grow. And majority of the companies out there that we see go in that direction at some point in their journey within their first 1 to 3 years, if they can last that long. So if you can do that, then you'll be better off and you'll be in a better position to negotiate better terms with your investors.
So you're saying one of the goals would be to get capital, venture capital of some kind, or investors?
Yes, but after some proof of concept of your business, after some data or revenue that you can pull, and then show that these numbers can grow with the investment that they would make, and that would give you better leverage to have better terms with your investors.
Okay, Zeeshan, thanks for coming on the show. I've learned a lot about you, and I'm sure our listeners have as well.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll see you next time.